Good morning, gut buckets.
From around the world to your backyard.
Zuzu Radio.
Welcome to Zuzu Radio. I'm your host, Brandon. I'm here with
Sarah Mann.
Sarah Mann. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you too, Brand.
You're the Digital Filmmaking Program Chair at Villa Maria College.
Yes.
And we met when I was hired to be an adjunct this past spring because you hired me.
I did.
And before we really get started, I'm just wondering, how did the semester finish up for you?
It finished.
That's a success, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't, in a way. No, it went well. The seniors wrapped up their final films. Juniors are getting ready to start their final films in the fall. So we kind of ended at like a good spot. Mm-hmm. Everybody wrapped and everybody screened.
Okay.
So I call that a success.
Yeah.
And they made good movies along the way. So it's not all just about, finishing up things. Some people made some really interesting, compelling, somewhat esoteric films.
That's really cool. Yeah. I felt the same way about the end of my semester, which was, I was just really happy everybody got something in. You know, there was something to show for it at the end. And what I've learned, and we're going to talk about students as we go along, but just the idea of completing a creative thought is really challenging. And so much judgment and self-guessing, and, you're like, I don't know, is this any good? This seems terrible. And then you kind of just bail. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of people seem to do. But getting it in, we can call that success, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, too, because I think because you might be able to relate to this, too. Like, because I'm in the position that I'm in, I'm just like, I give the assignment, and I'm like, okay, get it in by this date. And then sometimes students can't follow through on that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm like, I have to put myself in their shoes and be like, I'm being asked to give, like, a full creative project over the course of, like, 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. So I kind of have to step outside of my like authoritarian role and like just really think about what they are being asked to do. So, and then I try to like accommodate that as much as I possibly can. And of course we have to like work within a deadline because that's how you prepare for career.
Yeah. And stomach the imperfections, I think, is when I think about how long it takes me to finish a creative thought, it's never 3 weeks. It's like a long period, sometimes years of fine-tuning and refining. And so I think part of the process is also getting comfortable with feeling like I tried my best and this is what I got for right now.
Yeah.
And it's a stepping stone to the next thing, not really, it doesn't all have to be perfect in this one.
Yeah. And a lot of students kind of get in their head where they're like, I have to finish this. And it has to be a full, final, complete thing that I can just close the book on. Right. As soon as this is done, I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that. You know what I mean? And it's a little funny because sometimes they're like 19 and they're like, I just did my big one. Like, can't do anymore. Like, that was my last good idea. I'm just like, you have so much ahead of you.
Yeah.
But I always try to advertise at least the projects that I assign. Like, this is a working document. Mm-hmm. You can, like, all I ask is that you give me the criteria that I gave you for this class. Like, it has to be 2 minutes long, has to have, 3-act story arc or whatever. But then, after you turn it into me, use the turn in and use the critique day as feedback, mm-hmm. and then apply it. Like, if you really want to continue working on it. And then I'm happy to give notes if they want to do a couple more drafts or something like that.
Do you feel like they're more afraid to make a bad film now than maybe when you started?
I don't know. Like, I think it's not about, like, being bad per se. Like, I think they always want it to work out, obviously, and they want it to make narrative sense. Mm-hmm. But they just worry about executing the idea. And a lot of them have really big, ambitious ideas, which are always cool. And then I'm always like, this assignment can only be 2 minutes long. And they're giving me like a Godfather level, like multi-generational. And I'm just like, I am not saying no to this idea, but we really have to scale it back. Yeah. And it's like, I also know you are just straight up not going to be able to film this. So I try to make it so that it is filmable and it is achievable, even if it's on a really small level. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're going like, well, I've been really sitting on this idea and they're really attached to it, but I always want them to just make something. So even if it's like, you're just trying something out, you're auditioning this idea. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they're like, I don't like it. And it's, they think it's bad because they, either they themselves did a bad job of managing the time or getting the resources together, or sometimes it's just like Murphy's Law, like stuff happened.
Yeah.
And I try to really prepare them for that too. And even if they're like, I have everything all set up, like, here's my schedule. I'm like, great, what's your plan B? And then they're like, well, there isn't one because this is, and I'm like, you have to have a plan B.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Or C, D, E,
not,
F, G too.
Yeah, all the way A to Z. Like, it's not
Right.
going to work. And then their actor drops out, or like,
common,
the battery on the camera died, and then they were like, in this tight location, they had to wait for the battery to charge. Like,
Yeah.
So a lot of, as much as I love doing the creative, like producing with them, where it's like, okay, who's this character? What's their arc? What's the story? I'm also like, are your batteries charged? Like, do you have
Practical
Is
end.
your SD card ready to go? Like, I'm trying to come in and, and sometimes I feel like I'm kind of momming them in that way, but like they don't know, they're students.
Yeah.
So
Right,
this is
right.
their first time doing it too. So I just have to, even if it's something small that I am thinking of, it's like, do you have enough double A's for the sound recorder? Because those are going to die.
Yeah, yeah.
They
A lot of
haven't
times
had that experience before.
You've got to crash to learn, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of times the things that I will never go wrong for me again are the things that went wrong in a big way, and then I internalized and was like, okay, never again. Gonna
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of times in my teaching that, you're kind of like trying to be as helpful as possible and like, let me get you to where you want to go, but at the same time realizing that the obstacles are important too.
Mm-hmm.
And like you will learn so much just from trying, and you'll be better the next time for it, so.
Completely.
Well, okay, let's pause on, I have all kinds of stuff to go through on that end, but we got to go back to your beginning, right? Like, when you're a kid, you watch all kinds of movies, and for some reason, only when you grow up do you realize that certain ones like burned into your brain, and I'm curious which, one or a few really stood out to you and made an impression. Is there like a holy grail film for you?
This is like my scariest question to
It's
answer.
so hard to answer, right? Different
Like-
periods of your life are different too.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, even on the first day of school when I'm going around, I'm like, what's your favorite movie? And then people answer and they go, what's yours? And I'm like, suddenly I'm like, I've never seen one before. And then it's like, I have so many that I like from so many eras of my life that I feel really reflect who I am. So I just like my answer, I'm just like the Virgin Suicides.
Okay.
Like that's just my go-to one because I feel like that really encapsulates like me and my tastes and my interests, who I am now, but also who I was like as a teenager.
That was Sofia Coppola's first film, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just love that movie. I feel like there is like even if I'm not actively watching it, there is like a screensaver quality to it. It's just kind of on in the background. Although I try not to watch it very often. That's like one where I am just like, I have to actually sit and watch this. Because there's some I'm just like, let's throw it on.
Yeah.
Because like, why not? But that one is like, I have to savor it a little bit more.
Is that the movie you've seen the most?
No.
What's your movie you've seen the most? So I feel like there's certain movies for me where I'm like, I just could watch this kind of like every week if I wanted.
So the one, I don't think this is a good movie. Like, this is not cinema,
Okay.
but it's Pretty in Pink.
Oh.
That is the one I have seen probably the most out of anything. Because when I was growing up, it was on VH1 Classic, like 24/7. So it was always on TV. And I could just kind of guarantee I would turn the TV on and it would be there. And to this day, I watched it because it was on like Pluto TV recently. And I was just like, I haven't seen this in a while. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
See if it holds up. It like doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't at all. But I like know every line. And because I watched it so much on TV, I can like anticipate the commercial break.
Yeah. You feel
It's like,
coming up.
I remember where the commercials were. And like,
Those licensing deals go a long way for like setting movies in the cultural mindset. Like
Yes.
Shawshank Redemption was on TBS like every second of every day, summer vacation for
All
me.
day, every day.
So you just like, that's what you see.
yeah. And I have recently gotten not back into, but I have discovered Pluto TV as just like cable.
Yeah.
Because it's doing what cable used to do for me. And that's like how I got into movies, was just watching TV. I was like very much an indoor child growing up. So like legend has it that I like learned how to use the VCR when I was like 3 years old. And I was just watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the middle of the summer in the basement. So like that is where I just grew up with TV. So I have a list on my letterbox that's just like stuff I've seen a million times without really thinking about it. And Pretty in Pink is one of them. Red Dawn was like always on AMC. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah. Do you find yourself drawn to John Hughes films in general?
I guess so. I haven't really thought about it. I mean, I watched so many of them growing up because that was, the 80s were like cool. It's like the 80s are back. And it was like this rite of passage as a teenager to watch The Breakfast Club and, like really absorb those movies into your DNA. And they did. I don't think I would I'd be like, oh my God, I'm craving to watch The Breakfast Club. Like, I don't think I am dying to watch that movie again, but it had a time and place for me personally. So in a way, and that was like when I was around like 13, 14-ish. And that's when I really started getting into movies as a thing rather than just like something I can do to pass the time.
What about in your family? Were your parents, or I don't know, do you have siblings? Were they into films, and was that a part of like family time at all?
Not really movies. My dad is a big, just kind of, he knows a lot about everything. Useless information, random trivia. He and I both kill bar trivia. And we were doing bar trivia a couple months ago, like with my friends. And I was just knew every single thing. And it was like actresses with the initials MS. One of them was Mary Steenburgen.
Okay.
And I forget what the prompt was, but I was like, Mary Steenburgen. And then one of my friends was like, how do you know all this? And I was just like, I just know stuff. I was just on the internet a lot and watching a lot of TV. But I sort of got that from my dad just because he knows everything. He listens to like a bunch of different types of music. Just like random movies, TV. And so, and the internet was like my wide open space for that. And this was when the internet was still good. Yeah. I met a group of girls online, and we're from all over the place, all over the country, starting with the Turner Classic Movies message boards. Whoa. When I was like 13 or 14 years old. So I met somebody who I'm still friends with to this day. Her handle was I Love Ray Milland. The actor. Yeah. And she was like 12 or 13 at the time, so she didn't want to give out her real name or anything. So I just started calling her Millie after Milland. Yeah. Because I'm like, I need to identify this person when I'm talking to them. And her name is Meg. Like, she's my age. She lives in Seattle. She came to visit a handful of years ago. Like, we're still tight.
So this was like from the very beginning for you. Yeah. Film, there was no deviation of like, I'm interested in this, this, and this, and suddenly it narrowed down to film. It was like always a top thing for you. Yeah.
It's weird because I feel like one day when I was like going into high school, I just woke up and I'm like, I'm going to do movies now. Like, this is going to be my thing. And then I just started reading a bunch of biographies of movie stars, like classic movie stars from the library, and taking out a bunch of DVDs and just watching TCM all day, every day.
Yeah. Film school, personal film school.
Yeah. Which I like didn't really realize I was doing at the time, I think. I was just like, this is cool. And there was something, kind of like, I'm not like other people. Like, I'm watching old classic movies.
Yeah, this is my thing.
Yeah. So I had a little bit of that complex, but who doesn't? Yeah. As a teenager.
When you find something you love, I think that's sort of how you corner it off and be like, I found myself in a way.
Yes. And then like my decision to go study film, I didn't really know that. I mean, I knew film school existed, but I thought it was something that was this kind of unattainable, gotta go to UCLA thing. So I was initially interested in going to college for acting and theater. And then, this is so stupid, but I realized I'm like, I have to audition. Like, I have to go act in front of these people? Forget it. That doesn't make any sense. But I was so freaked out by that.
What drew you to the acting side in the beginning?
I think it was just like arts and culture. Because looking back, I can see how I naturally ended up at film school because it was all kind of part of the same world. But I had like one media productions class in high school where it was like filming and editing. And I was like, oh, I haven't done this before. And now I'm really figuring out that this is what I want to do. I see. So because of that one class, I was like, maybe film school is an option. Yeah. So that sort of shoved me that way. And in a way, I've never left.
It's amazing what one class will do to your life. Yeah. Suddenly it's like on track at some point.
Yes.
Wild. Well, okay, we got to talk about in my digging and my research on Sarah Mann,
Oh boy.
I saw that there's a film called Siren. Is that
Oh
right?
my God, yes.
It was your graduate film, I guess, right? Was it your graduate film?
It wasn't my thesis, but it was a project that I did in a class in grad school. So my thesis is called Figments.
Okay.
Siren went to BIFF. That one had a little bit more of a career than Figments did. And I was like, I'm always like, one day I'm going to go back and recut Figments, because I sort of slapped it together. I was not very good with my time management skills. And at that point, I had been in grad school for 3 years, and I was like, get me out of here. So I was just like, movie, done. And I always wanted to go back and recut it. And then I dropped my hard drive with the film on it, which part of me is still a little bit mournful, but the more overwhelming part of me is like, thank God. I just kind of was like, I don't think I'm ever going to touch this. And now I actually can't. And I think that's
the universe took it out of your hands.
A little bit, yeah. In a way, I like Siren a little bit more. Were you able to watch it? I can't remember if it's
not
behind...
able to track it down.
I have it on Vimeo, but it's password protected.
Okay.
So I'll send you...
Awesome.
It's been a minute since I've seen it, even. The last time I showed it to students was, I think, 2 years ago or so. I used to show my stuff a little bit more often, and now I'm like, eh.
I wondered if that's a thing. I showed one of mine in class, and it was like, I was trying to use it as an example, and I feel like the target was missed. Just like, hey guys, look at the way the J and L cuts are working over this thing, and they were kind of just like thinking about how it was mine.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay, well, next time, maybe I'll show that at the end next time or something.
Yeah. I've realized, not because anybody has said this to me, but I've realized over time that they think of it as like a peek into my lore.
Yeah.
Or something.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, I don't like that. I'm like slamming that door completely shut. I'm like, I don't want to. Because then it would open up room for like a Q&A about it. Mm-hmm. And so they'd be like, how did you get this shot? And it's like, well, me and my friend Vinny, did... And it's lore drop.
Yeah.
And they're all like, like rubbing their hands together, being like, more. And
that's funny. That's a weird transition for me from teenagers who almost think of me as like a robot with no feelings or backstory compared to this like new setting where maybe there's a little bit more of that, like, oh, there is a person back there. Let me see who they're at.
Yeah. Which I used to be so much more open about that stuff with students. And now I'm just like tight-lipped, or I try to be. Some of them might listen to this and be like, LOL, yeah, right. I am just like an oversharer.
Well, who informed Sirens, like stylistically? Were you reaching for references and doing your own little study of like genres or things, or how does it shake out for you, that film?
Yeah, so that film was, it was a class project that I just went really hard on. That I don't think any of my other classmates or colleagues went that hard on, but I was like, let's make this a film with like a script and the whole thing. And at that point too, in my graduate career, I was really desperately trying to reclaim something. I was feeling very lost, and I just wanted to go back to my bread and butter, which was just making a short narrative film. I was getting really lost in the weeds of doing a lot of kind of experimental, abstract installation, site specific, like all of this kind of big. And I do think that helped me ultimately going through all of that, because it really broadened my perspective on things. But I was just like, I gotta go home. I gotta go back to some tiny little thing with just a character who's kind of weird.
Yeah. Where does that come from for you, though? Is there like a director why does that feel comfortable, that particular style?
It's not even like a narrative filmmaking.
Just like there's one weird little character and they're kind of moving through a thing, and that's like home for you.
I think it's just a peek. It feels like a little, you're separating some curtains and you're just kind of popping your head in really quick and then shutting them and then kind of moving on.
Yeah.
So that film is about a girl who is sort of she's an unreliable narrator. So and I had the original idea that I had for it was that there's this person who is telling you one thing, but then the audience is seeing something else. And then you kind of have to decide what is the truth, what is not the truth, and then who even is this person, if this is how they are perceiving how things happened. And I was really into, as every other millennial woman in the mid-2010s was interested in true crime.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, she has to be a killer, obviously. She has to murder somebody in this. So there's one portion where she is seemingly in some kind of interrogation room being questioned, and she's got like blood on her, and she's telling the story of this party that she went to, and she has a crush on this guy, and she's tried to talk to him, and it just kind of like went wrong. And then you see the party in the other kind of half of the footage, and it's that she just got jealous and kind of acted out, and murder took place. But then in the end, in the interrogation, she's just like, oh, that kind of sucked. Like, that was a bummer. Like, she's not aware of what she did, kind of thing. So I just really wanted to first and foremost play with this unreliable narrator, and like, how is that going to inform the script, and how is that going to look on screen? At the time, I was really interested in Brian De Palma's Carrie. I really loved this very like glittery, very saturated look. So a lot of the lighting was really colorful, very primary colored, like blue, purple, red, green. We filmed it in my friend's basement, and he had a bunch of twinkle lights, and that just created like this amazing bokeh like across the entire thing. Very party atmosphere looking. And I was using a Canon C100 that the equipment room at UB had. And I just thought that immediately made everything look really cinematic without hardly us doing a thing about it. It's just turn it on and it looks like a movie.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I was really using a cinema camera like that. I had done everything prior to that just using kind of a DSLR or some equivalent of that. So I really liked it. It came together in editing really well. And that was the first project, even outside of college, where I just really felt I took the helm of. And it was like exactly how I envisioned it to be. And I was very pleased with it. And I still am. There is, looking back, I'm just like, oh my God, make this one. Cut literally 1 second out of this clip.
Yeah.
But that's like some Monday morning quarterbacking on my part.
Yeah, that's the creator's eye that sees all the problems and none of the good things,
But for who I was at the time when I made it, I think it was, I still really like it.
That's really cool. That's the best way to reach a finish line that you can imagine, right? Is like just to get done and be like, I'm happy with that. Yeah.
And then it got accepted into Biff. It was in the student shorts. So that kind of felt like, okay.
Yeah.
Other
people you don't know watching your film. Yeah, that's just a big feeling.
Yeah.
And you notice, I'm sure this is true for any artist, I think when they're with other people watching their art, they experience it vicariously. And it's a different impression on the maker when other people are there with you. Do you get that sense?
Yeah.
So Sirens went really well, it sounds like. But is there a film that you tried to make that completely just failed, bottomed out, and did not go anywhere?
Of my own making? I always had ideas. I really used my time at UB in grad school as my playground in a way. I haven't really made anything since in that regard, just because I'm full-time at Villa. I've been busy with that job.
Of course.
And I am producing multiple student films on a daily basis. So that's kind of where my energy is now. But I'm also cool with that. Like, that's in this season of life that I'm in, that's what I like doing, rather than kind of doing my own directorial or otherwise thing. I've never really had one like crash and burn. There are definitely things where I wish that it had worked out a little bit better. I think with Figments, which was my senior film, my thesis film, sounds more grown up. I again was on this kind of like true crime bend. Like, I was really interested in a thriller, mystery, suspense. This kind of like girl went missing, what happened to her, but it was so long ago that there's kind of no evidence now. Our characters left to pick up the pieces in modern day. And I think I was also just, in teaching, I have really fine-tuned a lot of my storytelling skills. I've taught screenwriting a handful of times now at both Villa and at UB. And in teaching screenwriting, I'm like teaching myself in a way. If I was gonna, I don't know if I even have the script for Figments anymore, but if I was gonna look at that script, I'd be like, oh my God, everything is wrong. Scenes go nowhere. They're just kind of there for no real reason. Character has interaction with mother, and for why? Like, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, the for why. That's a tough one.
Like, how is this? Because I hear myself teaching screenwriting, and I'm like, all of your scenes, and granted, these are maximum 10-page scripts. These are not feature-length things at all. But because they have the confines of it being so short, they really have to make what they have work. So there isn't literally time to just kind of dally. Everything has to be moving the plot forward.
Yep.
So I hear myself saying, is this scene moving the plot forward? Is this moment or this reaction moving the plot forward? And then I'm just, me from like 10 years ago is back here being like, I guess it's not. In my own script, it's not really happening. So I would be curious to see myself make something like that now, because I feel like I would attack it so differently than I did then. And I just feel like everything that is about storytelling to me is just so much sharper, way more in focus than it was at the time that I was actually making narrative shorts.
Yeah.
So,
well, with all your energy devoted to the student films, I can understand how the reservoir is low. But
yeah.
are there ideas that are like percolating for you where you're like, ooh, you know what? When I have time, I feel like that's when I want to chase after.
I have flashes of images. I don't really necessarily have stories. And this is kind of how I've always done projects of mine. I have one image and then I build everything around the image because I'm so attached to it and I'm like desperate to make it work.
Yeah.
So
what was the image for Sirens?
I think it was her just sitting there covered in blood. And this was like Kool-Aid Hershey syrup blood. It was not beautiful. It was like really glossy and stained the actress's skin, which was hilarious.
Oops.
The next day she's like, my face is red.
Oh no.
And I was like, yeah, because I painted you with a Kool-Aid packet. That's why. So I think that was that one. For Figments, I was still living at my parents' house, and that's where I ended up shooting this. And it was weird because the character sort of became me. Because her bedroom was my bedroom and her house was my house, and she drove my car.
Oh yeah.
And lived in my town. So there was sort of this weird meta, and it was all born out of necessity. I had $0, and the actress who I worked with was a theater student at UB, but I had also gone to high school with her. So it's her town too. It's her neighborhood too, So there was this weird kind of world closing in on itself, alternate dimension thing going on at times. But I had this image of my parents' bedroom. The door is kind of on this angle, and they have two French doors. And I had this image of them being wide open, and this girl just standing there, like covered in leaves and dripping wet. Like she just kind of appeared, like came out of a swamp or something. And I was just like, that is so creepy. I love it.
It just came to you in waking life? You just one day were like...
Yeah, I was like, this girl has to be dead, gone, missing, and her spirit is like haunting the protagonist in some way. And I didn't end up doing that exact shot. Like she's not dripping, covered in leaves, but I sort of got the same idea down. But I was so attached to that image, and I was like, how do I build the rest of this around that? Now it's funny because like I am older than I was then. I have a house. I'm getting married. I'm just like in a completely separate part of my life now. And so now the thing that really scares me is real estate.
Oh.
The housing market.
Yeah.
So I've had this image of this. It's not an image, I guess, but it's just like a flash. If you were going to press play on this movie and it was going to speed forward in 3 seconds, what does it look like? So I have this idea of this real estate agent who kind of just like finds herself in over her head. Like she gets this house on the market and there's something wrong with the house. It's haunted, it's possessed, or something possesses her, or she is possessed herself. It's not the house. I don't know. I don't know.
I love that even this ideation is connected to my image of you with the VCR, like pressing play, and having it fast forward through the whole film, and you see the flashes of everything. Yeah,
and Figments actually had a lot of my thesis research was about like haptic visualization and CCTV, kind of this like haptic VHS glitchy can reach out and touch it quality.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that stylistically, visually in that film. And that's something that I've always kind of been interested in. And I think people mistake it as being like a Stranger Things style, like, retro nostalgia. But it's something else for me that I don't know how to quite verbalize. In this almost like metaphysical way. Like we are watching the TV, but we are also in the TV. and the TV is us kind of thing.
Well, my sense of the relation between the two for me is just the idea of degradation of like a physical object over time. Like our bodies are literally doing that.
Yeah.
And the VHS tape is now warbly and it has like the, so I feel that. I feel that connection. What about this paranormal element that seems to be, or maybe not paranormal, death-related thing between these two, the idea you just mentioned and sirens? I'm trying to pin you down a little bit on like stylistically what you reach for, because for me, just talking about ideas, like usually what happens is I get the flash of something, right? And it's like, it's almost as though the idea is inside like dense fog.
Yeah.
And like slowly the fog is clearing away, but I'm not even getting the pieces in order. There's like just something random comes through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let me just like put that in the bag for now.
Yeah.
And then over time, realizing what I was dreaming of the whole time, like it's finally, now I can see it. And usually the idea for me has to be based on something practical enough to complete. Like it can't be set on Mars, like it has to be like in a room in my house or something.
Yeah.
And so that also helps me narrow down. So that's what I'm trying to sort of feel out for you, is like if certain things like are guardrails within which you're like, okay, here's my playground.
I mean, I have always, and I try to put this on the students as much as possible, I find that working within limitations makes me flourish.
Yeah.
And so for that thesis film, I'm like looking around and I'm like, well, I live here. Here's a set. Like, let's just make it this. And then Leah, who was the actress in that, was a theater student, but I was also like, I already know her. That makes it way easier. So, and then I was using equipment from the equipment room. Like I used the things that were available to me. And because I knew what was available, it made like the script and the story much more wide open. I don't know if that makes sense. It feels like it should be the opposite, but I was like, I can do anything now that I know that I'm going to be filming in here.
Yes, you've got to put like a boundary line around it. Like a lot of my music students, they don't know the genre of music they're trying to make, and so like it's like too much is coming through. And it's like, well, if we box it out and say you're going to make like rock music or whatever, hip hop or something, there's rules that you can bend and break and make decisions on. But without the box, it's like, I don't know. There's just too much here.
Yeah. And I even try to format a lot of the assignments like that. I try to leave it wide open because I want to leave people to practice and play with their creativity as much as they can. But then students go, so you mean I can do anything? And then they just kind of don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
So I always try to give one bit or a couple tiny bits of criteria that they can at least be like, okay, now I have an idea. Like this has to be around the theme of change. Or this has to be, no dialogue. This is a show, don't tell film. Something like that. Or like you must use this certain style of editing technique. You must use this type of camera angle or this list of camera angles. And then they go, okay. So it's like as soon as I give them that, the wheels start turning. And I feel like I approach things really similarly.
Yeah.
And I mean, even like the house I live in now, I live in the burbs. It's everybody has a garage and a driveway and all the houses look exactly the same. But there's something really interesting about that to me. And right now there's a bunch of for sale signs popping up because it's like real estate season. And I'm just like, interesting.
The visual.
Yeah, there's just something about that. And it's really funny because I had a professor in college, Luke Ostrowski, who is a filmmaker, and he made a film while we were there. It was part of our curriculum. He sort of hired us all into this film, but he was probably a couple years older than I am now. So approximately the same age that I am now. And he was married, had like really young kids, just bought a house, kind of in the same season of life that I'm in now. And he made this film that was about the terror of that. And sort of this, like, you're standing on the edge of this precipice, like you're about to be flown over this cliff that is adulthood, but you're still kind of clinging. And we were all like, Luke's going through a midlife crisis. I say this with love, obviously, but now I'm just like, oh my God, I think he was right. Like, I think he was onto something.
Yeah.
It's just because like I have approached that part of my life.
And you kind of got to make what you know in a way.
Yes.
Right? Like something that I think about a lot is the movies that I saw when I was too young to see them. The movies that it's like, not for an 8-year-old,
yes.
but here I am.
Yes.
And how those things, like they're subversive and like exciting and like I think that is something that I carry. Like I can't make RoboCop now, but that was a film that like all the blood and the dark nature of the media, and there's just so much in there. Obviously R-rated, but it's that like the heart of humanity in a way that like I think is in my work too. Even now.
Yes, and I have found over time that I am really interested in horror, which is something I never, as a teenager, would have thought.
Were you not watching horror as?
No, because I think I thought horror was just like Saw, The Grudge.
Yeah.
I saw Insidious with my two still best friends in the theater, and I was like, I am so scared. Like I am going to, like quaking in my boots, scared. And Insidious is a great movie. I didn't realize what it. I just thought I was going to see some scary movie at the McKinley Mall. I didn't think it was going to be that serious. But I think that's what I thought horror was. It's like creature, monster, blah. And then kind of a cousin of that was like gory slasher, hostile kind of stuff. But now in A24 and a lot of these kind of contemporary horror movies have really shown me that is one element of horror, but there's so much more going on.
The psychological element
Yes.
of horror, like The Invitation.
Yes, I love The Invitation.
What a
I am
crazy
The Invitation's
film.
#1 fan.
It seems like you appreciate when the narrator is unreliable, or when you're getting this rug pull where you're like, oh, I'm watching this movie. Wait a minute, no, I'm watching this kind of movie. Wait, who do
Yeah.
I trust in this movie?
Yeah. I find that a lot of things that the movies that I really like and the things that I like to make for myself have this element of the unexplained or everything is not as it seems, which I guess lends into this sort of like spookiness, like paranormal, ghost, or even just strange, unhinged, weird, alternate universe looking thing.
And when you can tap into the human dread elements
Yeah.
of everyday life and pair it with that, it's really powerful.
Yes.
Have you ever seen Vivarium?
Yes.
That to me is a movie that like taps into that big time.
Yeah.
I'll never watch it again probably, but it was great watching it once.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched it. I don't really remember it. Like I do when I don't. I remember the images and I remember the gist. It was just really unsettling
Yeah.
in kind of this like weird Kafka-esque. And it starts out normal,
Yeah.
seemingly,
They
and then it
ground
just
you
sort of
and then
devolves.
break it. Yeah.
Which are movies that that's what I like, where kind of reality starts shifting. And then character is introduced or element is introduced and you're just like, okay, hang on. Like things are just really not real anymore,
Yeah.
but they are real to this character. And then that's always a manifestation for insert theme here, or, so that's what I
Did
like.
you see Begonia?
I did.
And how did you feel about that one in terms of, I mean, that to
I
me
liked
was
it
like,
a lot.
where am I in the truth of this film? Like it's kind
Yeah.
of just pulling you the whole time.
Yes. I think, so Begonia is one of the movies that I feel really entered the mainstream more than a lot of other, especially Yorgos Lanthimos films. I had seen Dogtooth, one of his first films, years ago when I was like in my dorm room in college because somebody posted a GIF of it on Tumblr. I was like, this movie is crazy. And I was like, play, let's check it out. And I was just like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. And so I already knew that about him. So everything he's done since, I think really shocks everybody. But I'm just like, have you all seen Dogtooth? Like,
Yeah, see where it started?
He's been doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Begonia was interesting to me because it was really taking place within reality.
Yeah. It kind of, you're wondering whose reality are we living in
Yeah.
the whole time? Each character
Yeah.
is sort of like making their case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the ending threw a lot of people. I was anticipating something. I was like, I don't know what the reveal is going to be, but there's going to be a reveal.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I've just seen too many movies and I just know the formula now. So it's like
There's a formula.
part of me is a little sad that I have just gobbled these up so much over the years because I can see a lot of things coming
Yeah.
that to an average moviegoer, they're like, oh my God, like Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin, shocked about. Or they're like, that movie was crazy. And I'm like, it was okay. I've seen crazier. Like there's just, I feel like I'm always comparing something to something else. But
Do you feel like that relates to teaching film though, in particular? Like you have like gotten inside of this medium and you really know like the bones of it.
yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. I feel like filmmaking to me is a puzzle and storytelling is a puzzle in a way. And as an avid 1,000-piece puzzler, for real, I can see how this worked out for me. Because I see screenwriting and I see the art and the craft of it as just being a thing that you have to do. There's a piece that needs to be put into a certain place.
Yeah, right.
So for screenwriting, it's like you have act 1, act 2, act 3. There's protagonist. They are going to have some kind of conflict. Conflict has to be resolved and there's going to be obstacles in the way. So it's almost like an equation. Like you just plop in certain things to go in those places. And when it works, that is just extremely satisfying to me.
Yeah.
And when you're almost done with a literal physical puzzle and you're down to the last handful of pieces, you're like, like everything's coming together and you're like, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
And then you put like the last couple pieces in and you're like, yes, this was so satisfactory. And that's how I feel making movies is.
What about films though that don't give you the last piece? So you watch the film and the puzzle comes together and there's just a hole in the middle. Like I think of Lynch as a guy who's like,
oh yeah,
kind of just like there's a formula to some degree, but it's definitely not mainstreamed or what we come to expect, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like he's one of my favorite directors. I think he is my favorite director. He's
the lore
operating...
just came out there.
Huh?
Some lore just came out there. Lynch is
Lore
the number
drop.
one.
Lore drop. Write that one down.
Well,
But anyway.
I love this thing you're bringing up about the puzzle, though, because one of the questions I wanted to ask was, as students are building their puzzles, you know, as they're trying to be filmmakers, what do you think that what's like the number 1, 2, 3 things they misunderstand about filmmaking? Is there like kind of a majority they're missing this part of it?
In terms of making, some of them just don't, by no fault of their own, understand scale and scope of things. So that's where they get some multi-generational mafia family, mob boss, hitman thing. And I'm like, this is a 3-hour movie. And the thing should only be 5 minutes. So, but I never want to squash an idea completely. So as I said earlier, it's like, let's just scale this back. Let's zoom in on one of these characters in a certain moment that they find themselves in and let all of this other stuff that you've been thinking about just be in the background.
Yeah.
Like let that be the backstory for the character. Let that inform how they have found themselves in this situation. I love telling students to literally physically trap a character because I feel like that always brings out who that character actually is. So people have gotten stuck in elevators, they've been trapped in waiting rooms, or they have been kind of maybe just like stuck in a dead-end job kind of thing, maybe not in such an intense entrapment. Because that's always going to, you know, think if you're trapped in an elevator for X amount of time, like your real self is going to come through. And you might just be like, it's okay, we're chilling. Or you might be like, I'm screaming my head off, panicking. Like, So you're going to be one of those two people. So yeah, they get scale and scope. I don't want to say wrong, but they learn it over time. They learn what needs to be right up front in the story, and they learn what can kind of like be gotten rid of. Otherwise, like on a technical level, they're all just learning. So I don't really fault anybody greatly if they are just not really nailing the lighting or the sound or something like that. Because they're being introduced to the concepts, but then along with the concepts, I'm also handing them equipment, and then that can kind of get a little bit lost in translation sometimes.
Yeah. I noticed that like that's totally true in the dreaming phase, where it's like scope is not a factor for them in a way, and so it's sort of like tying it down to something that they can do is important. But in the making of the thing, one thing I kept trying to stress, and I don't think that I got through to them, was like, you need way more than you think.
Yes.
Like coverage. You need it from all the angles so that when you're editing, you can make the choices about how visually you want this to feel.
Yeah.
And so many people were just like, didn't have enough to flow through a thing. It was like kind of herky-jerky in a way.
Yeah.
And so do you notice that as well?
Completely. And like that example specifically, we'll be doing an in-class workshop where it's just they film something and then they edit it and it's just for the sake of an activity. It's not really for a grade or anything. But I will watch them hit record on the camera and then they call action, then press record.
Ooh, okay.
And then the moment whoever is acting or whatever is done doing whatever they're doing, they stop record and then they call cut. So the clip that they have is like 4.7 seconds.
Right.
And as much as I can, a lot of it is just sort of, I can tell them one thing, but then they also have to trip and fall on their face themselves before they really ingrain that. So I understand that there's only so much I can do. They have to also figure it out themselves. So I can tell them your clip should be like 10 seconds long. You know, give yourself some breathing room at the end and the beginning of each clip.
Yeah.
Give yourself some options when you're editing. Keep the camera rolling. Mm-hmm. We're working digital, baby. Like, you could be filming all freaking day long.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're just in that waiting, you get the best thing. You get a little reaction, just like it's sort of a movement that'll connect to the next thing. It's all there.
And you're always going to use that stuff when you're editing. Mm-hmm. And so it's always funny to me where I will kind of teach them one thing verbally, or now like point to something on the screen and they go, okay, yes, understood. And then they go off and film whatever it is they're filming, whether it's in the hallway with me or they're, you know, filming over the weekend or whatever. And then they come back and they're like, you were right. You were so right.
Yeah. Do you have like a filmmaking slogan or like, I feel like a lot of times when ideas are so big, you got to try and condense them down into something that people can kind of like repeat in their mind a little bit. Like, is there anything that like a core thing that you're always like, remember this one thing?
I feel like I have so many of those.
Sarah-isms.
Yeah. And also my fiance jokes that I have like a soundboard of just like things that I say all the time. So it's like when it gets to be 5 o'clock, I'm like, I'm hungry. Like, it's just sort of things that I'm like constantly saying, even if I'm aware of them or not. So I feel like I also have a teaching soundboard where it's just things that I'm like constantly trying to. And I don't know if I have, they might disagree with me. They might be like, here's a specific sentence. But I'm always advising people to shrink it, trim it, make it smaller, zoom in. Like, you are thinking so bigger picture right now, and it has to just, like, you are in an aerial shot in a helicopter and all of the people on the sidewalk are ants and we have to get down to where the people are.
Yep.
So I feel like every critique day we do, I'm just like, you can cut this, you can shrink this, focus it, and it's going to be way stronger. And I feel like that is just something that I'm going to be doing forever. That's like an evergreen statement I have.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like a quality over quantity thing.
Yeah.
They think if they have something successful that's like 10 minutes, I'm like, it could be way better, way more successful if it was 7.
Right. There's always something to cut.
Yeah.
To make it speed along.
Yeah.
I feel like similar problem, and different way of saying it for me is just that like, plot is what happens and theme is why it matters.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times I'm like, what are you trying to say though? Like what does this character feel? What is their intention or what do they want? And it's more just like action. You know, like I had this cool idea, let's jam it in.
Yeah.
And so trying to like focus it down, come down to the human level.
Yeah.
It's definitely really
Or
important.
it's the opposite. They have a theme that they really want to explore, but then somehow it turns up being like a after school special. Like, because they're working so hard on the theme and it's like bullying is wrong and bad.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anybody's ever done that, but that's like so too specific. It's like now we're going too narrow in a way.
Yeah.
And it's like, who actually speaks like this? Who actually is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be so mean to my wife. Like nobody has an epiphany like that in a movie.
Yeah. It's a lot of things that get said out loud in maybe I hate to say bad movies, but certain movies are kind of just like, why did that get expressed verbally? Yeah. Like there's a lot that you can show rather than tell.
Yeah. And I think it always is cool for me, whether the students know it or not, but I know it. Like, because I know who they are as people. I've been working with them for at least a year or two at the point that something like this would happen. But somebody goes through like a really bad breakup. They have kind of like a infighting thing with their friends or something. I can just kind of tell that they're kind of like down on their luck, going through it, whatever. And then they make some movie where it's like, girl goes crazy, woman goes postal. And it's about nothing, it's not woman experiences breakup. It's like girl gets knife, axe out. And it's like, okay, you're channeling that. Like, that's where I think the theme works, because you don't set out to do the theme, you're just channeling energy. And whenever you're channeling energy, that's where the theme comes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Because if you're like, oh, I just went through a bad breakup, gonna make a breakup movie, I'm just like, yawn, snooze, like this is gonna be boring.
Yeah.
And so I'm always challenging them to make it cooler. Like, let's make this way more interesting. And I have this bit that I do with them where I will typically wear my lanyard with my ID on it every day. I used to get mistaken for a student a lot more than I do now because I have aged. But when I first started working there, I was like 25. So people would think I was a student, including other students. So I started wearing the lanyard every day to just kind of like delineate myself. I work here. So I've just kind of kept it on, whatever. But I'll do this bit where if I'm trying to be like really real with them and be like, we're just talking like human to human right now, I will like throw the ID over my shoulder.
Yes.
And kind of be like, okay. And then just be like, let's be so for real for a second. This looks like shit. Like, we have to make this look better.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you exactly where it needs to be cut. And I'm going to tell you exactly why this is really not working. And then I will be like, flip the lanyard back over and be like, great work.
Yeah.
We really, worked that out. I think you did a great job.
That's strong teaching right there. Because I think part of the problem with teaching is the power dynamic that you get into where I'm afraid to make a mistake and my teacher's watching me, and the human to human level isn't there, and you can't feel like you can make mistakes or ask questions so that lanyard goes back and you're in the right territory.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right, well, we're coming around to the end, and the end is a big question, and it's one that has no real answer, so don't feel bad. But what makes a great movie great? And in a way, why are movies the best thing ever?
The virgin suicides. That's my answer. I think when a movie works, I feel it's compelling, it has kept you engaged, and it has moved you in some way. And by moved, I don't mean you're like, getting sniffly and teary, but you're just like, that rocked, or that was so bad. You can hate something and still be moved to hate it. Yeah. And so I try to tell people, like in our 101 class, especially when we're really going over like, what is movie? How do movie work? What is movie if not just entertainment thing to eat popcorn with? And we're kind of like going through the layers of like why this works, why it's an art form, why it is an enduring art form. If you just come out of a theater and you're like, okay, and you like never think about it again, that is where a movie does not work for me. And I think that students will like get into it with each other at times, because it's like, somebody says one thing and then the other person's like, no way. And it's always over Marvel. It's always over the franchises. Like, which one is the best? They should have stopped here, blah, blah, blah. And then they just kind of like get into it. And I just kind of sit back and I'm like, because to me, like, if a movie is kind of badly done, there's something technically bad about it, or there's like giant gaping plot holes, like, yeah, sure, there's going to be, the craft isn't there. But ultimately, if I'm like, I saw what they were doing, there's something that worked for me there, I think I would call that a success.
That's a really cool way to frame it, because I mean, that takes the technical aspect out of it and focuses on the experience you have when you walk away. Yeah. And that's really what it's about. Did it make you think something? Did it make you feel something? Okay, we're good.
There's a podcast that you might listen to, actually, because we're riding the same podcast wave, it seems. But it's called You Are Good. Don't know. And they call it a feelings podcast about movies. And I've been listening to it for years. They have a guest on every week and they just pick a new movie every week. And there's sort of seemingly no rhyme or reason to what movie they pick. It's just kind of what the guest wants to talk about. but they do not talk about the craft, the storytelling. They just talk about like, oh my God, this was really sad. Or like something that moved them about that movie. So listening to that has also really helped me reframe that, because I'm just like, this is an art form. Like, this is not, as much as we are really career centered at Villa, it's like, this is all about job outcomes and you have to learn these skills to make this thing, to have a product. Movies are still, you go to them to escape.
Yeah.
The same way that you read a book to escape, the same way that you do whatever else you do. So it's just fun to also contextualize things. You know, people will always on that podcast, they start off talking about how they have probably seen this movie a million times. They saw it as a kid. It had some meaning for them. There was a summer where they had some job and this movie was out in the theater, you know, the dollar ticket theater. So they just went and watched it like over and over and over again, because it was at the dollar theater and it was air conditioned.
Yeah.
So there's always some human story to these things. And that's how I feel like I watch movies. Like there's always some kind of diary entry about it. And I think I told you when I saw Wuthering Heights, there was like that man in the theater who was just like, where am I?
Yeah.
He like ended up in the wrong place. He was supposed to see something else and the theater was sold out. So he ended up in Wuthering Heights, which is like such a crazy place to be if you are who this man is, I believe him to be. And I just like didn't even care about the movie. I was just like, who is this guy? How did you end up here? And I'm like rewatching the movie through his eyes. And then also it was my day off. I ordered a popcorn. They accidentally gave me 2.
Nice.
And I'm just like, I'm having a great time at the movies. And then there's just this random man. I'm like, he's just a side character in this entire, like, I don't even remember the movie. I just remember going.
Yeah. The experience is still with you though. Yeah.
And that's I think why I continue to love movies. And I love seeing them with my fiance and I love watching them by myself. And then if I show something in class, I love watching the students watch it. I show Whiplash every year, as you also did.
Yeah.
That is one of my top movies to watch other people watch.
Yeah. Oh my God. The
And
reactions.
I'm always in the back of the room, so I'm watching like the backs of their heads. And they all kind of start off just like, you know, lounging in their seats. And by the end, they are like leaning forward, clutching their heads. And they're just like, oh my God. And then it ends and then they all go, because everybody's just holding their breath without even realizing it. So I think the experience of movie watching is going to be the thing that makes it this enduring thing. And now we have the internet. There's people talking all over the place about movies. People get a little lost in discourse sometimes, I feel. But it's just like, you know, it's a fun thing to do. It's fun to engage with the culture.
I think that's a good place to leave it.
Yeah.
Summed it up. Thank you for being here, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me, Bran.